Welcome to the Iferia TechCast, where we bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. Today we are joined by Patrick Reyes, a true polymath entrepreneur. He is the founder and CEO of Matterhorn Labs, a technology professional, a financial influencer, and a coach who has lived and worked across 5 different countries. His personal motto is translated as "Through Hardships to the Stars", and his career spans from deep tech and SAP to Forex trading and creative pursuits like making electronic music. In this episode, we'll explore his unique framework for evaluating ideas, building a multifaceted career, and leading with a global perspective. So, Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ezekiel, and thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, I am excited to have you and quickly want to dive in. So, Patrick, your personal motto is translated to "Through Hardship to the Stars". So, what has been the most significant hardship on your journey from technology professional to founder and CEO? And what did it teach you about resilience?
Of course, excellent question. So, I actually graduated from university with a computer science degree in the US in California. And I started my career as a developer, coder, programmer, however you want to call it, building e-commerce and customer relationship management sites, CRMs. Through my journey, I went through many late and long hours as a programmer. Because for those of you in your audience that may know the journey of a programmer, it involves some very late nights and a lot of snacks and sodas to get you through coding. Because back then, 25 years ago, there was no AI capabilities. So we had to rely on our knowledge, our intuition and intellect and books to code and debug and so forth. So it was a very challenging journey in my career until eventually I was able to move up to become an architect and then eventually a project manager on technology projects around the world. As you've noted, I've lived in many different countries. What I learned through that is to develop resilience and grit. Resilience in the sense that I maintained a lot of focus in my career to be very dynamic, very flexible, also very calm, cool, and collected under challenging situations, which helped me to become resilient. One of the things people may notice on my personal profile on my website is that I was actually born in the Middle East during the Iranian Revolution and the Lebanese Civil War. And as a child, it taught me to be very resilient. So I think my childhood experience evolved into my career also to help me become resilient and develop grit, which is quite important as an entrepreneur starting a company. You need to be very focused, cut out the emotions, manage people in all directions, upwards and downwards and sideways, to be able to be very resilient and have grit as you go. So that would be my response to your question.
Really, really fantastic response there, Patrick. So you've lived and worked across 5 different countries. How has this international perspective shaped your approach to technology, to innovation, and building a company like Matterhorn Labs in a way that might be different from someone who has operated in a single market?
Excellent question. I learned many things by working in different countries. The first thing that comes to mind is the dynamics of the culture in that country, the work culture. For example, in the US, when I was working in Silicon Valley, work is extremely embedded into people's psyche. it's their day-to-day life. When you meet people and socialize with people in that region of the world, work is a number one topic that comes on the agenda of any discussion. Canada, on the other hand, I found it to be a little bit in between Europe and the US. They're more focused on work-life balance.
Mm.
Europe, on the other hand, is deeply focused on work-life balance. They believe in focusing time for your family, for your hobbies, and so forth. So I would say working in all these different countries, also working with colleagues in the Asian region, you notice that the work culture is very different. That would be the first thing that come to mind. The second thing is people's attitude towards their work. So in the US, I would say in North America in general, people's attitudes seem to be very heavily invested in producing good work, high quality work under time pressures. I mean, if you look at the technology landscape globally, you ask anyone, name the top 3 tech companies, they're going to be based in the US. We're talking Apple, Google, Facebook, Meta, so forth. You know, not a lot of people will think of Europe and Asia, at least a few years ago, as being leaders in the tech space. But these days, the world is changing, of course. Europe is starting to become a leader in tech. Switzerland is actually one of the top countries in the world for innovation. We have a city here called Zug, which is heavily invested in cryptocurrencies. So they have a lot of cryptocurrency businesses. Asia recently came out of, as you know, in China with DeepSeek, which became a big
Yeah.
competitor with ChatGPT. So the landscape is changing, but nevertheless, the second point I'm trying to emphasize is that the work attitude in countries are very different. People have different approaches on producing high quality work on time, on budget. So that would be my response. Yeah.
Great. So can you give us an overview of what you are building at Matterhorn Labs? Uh, what are you doing there? What problem are you solving? Who are your potential customers? And what does a day working on Matterhorn Labs look like?
Of course. So at Matterhorn Labs, the whole concept behind this startup that I'm trying to kick off is we have about 150 plus technology, communication ideas in our product backlog that we want to incubate and launch, and eventually find an investor to or another company to purchase these businesses. So this is why we're an incubator. We're not really looking to, for the long term, run these 150 business ideas.
Hmm.
The first one that we recently launched is called Econocal. So in the Forex investing and trading world, investors and traders heavily rely on economic calendars.
Yeah.
So, you probably know this, but they rely on data for economic events in different countries, such as interest rate decisions, GDP, job hiring, job results, unemployment rates, and so forth.
Yeah.
So this information across the internet is very unorganized and very inefficient in terms of the data points. If you go to one economic calendar and compare it with another online, you will find discrepancies. So
Hmm.
Econocal is about consolidating all this data, harmonizing it, and finding the differences between these economic calendar events so that people can make educated decisions on their investment and trading strategies. So that's basically our first project, and your audience are welcome to visit the website and have a look. a day-to-day life for me, to answer the latter part of your question, is so my primary employment is actually with a company here in Switzerland that's global. It's called Infosys. So that's my day-to-day job. But Matterhorn Labs is my second job, let's say, that I focus on after working hours and during the weekend. So my day-to-day life is basically very early in the morning before I start my regular day job. I usually check my emails. I look through my product backlog of my ideas, brainstorm them, try to figure out which ones should go into the pipeline to actually produce it into a product or a service. And I do the same after working hours. And then on weekends is when I really focus to do actual work on Matterhorn Labs. I spend several hours per day to update the site, to update the code, to do improvements, to add features and functionalities to the site that would add more value to my customer base. So I work with a group of developers actually and programmers to produce the work for me. I don't do it myself. My programming days are over, even though I could probably still write some code if I wanted to. But these days, because technology changes so fast, I do need some professionals to help me with that. So that's my day-to-day life with Matterhorn Labs.
Really, really interesting, Patrick. So Matterhorn Labs has a backlog of over 150 potential ideas. For the engineers and product managers listening, what is your framework for evaluating which ideas do you incubate and bring to life, and how do you decide what to build next?
Yeah, so the way I go through that process is typically these ideas, if I take a step back a little bit, the ideas evolve from different areas. So sometimes, because I've been in tech for 25 years, I know a lot about opportunities and areas where products or services could add value to people.
Hmm.
So my ideas typically get generated from that, plus my real world experiences when I travel around the world, having lived in different countries. I have a very good global perspective about different products and services that would help people. So that's the genesis of my ideas. Now, how do I select one, and what's the process to decide what I invest my time in? Well, the first step is to build and draft a business plan. So my business plan is really the framework and foundation to figure out if there's an opportunity here to invest in it from a marketing perspective, from a USP perspective. What is my selling point for the business? From a financial perspective, from a customer basis, does it actually help me? How will it help others as customers use this product or service or platform? So once my business plan is formulated, the next step is I typically talk to close family members and friends, including investors, on the idea. I share the business plan with them. And if there is an opportunity and they say, this is a great idea, they balance the pros and cons and they come back to me with their feedback. Based on that, plus doing some market research, surveys online as well, in combination with those two is the tipping point on when I decide to actually invest in a product or service or a business for Matterhorn Labs to launch it. So I'm very meticulous in that way. I actually didn't go to business school, but I have relatives that have gone to business school and I've seen them go through that journey. I'm actually planning to go through a similar program to the MBA program for Master's Business Administration here in Switzerland next year with a school called IMD.
Hmm.
And through that journey, I hope I will be able to better optimize my business acumen to really select these ideas more effectively and efficiently. So that's kind of the journey I go through to selecting ideas and launching them.
All right. So, Patrick, has there ever been a project or a business idea that failed? And also, if there's any scenario like that, what was the key lesson from that experience that has made you a better founder and mentor today?
Yes, I think my first business, which was in North America, was the one that I invested quite a lot of time in, but unfortunately did not succeed. It was essentially a information technology consulting and service provider business. So very concretely, I provided website development services. I provided, and this was during the internet bubble, slightly before and slightly after it.
Hmm.
I provided networking services, so I would actually go on site to client locations, install routers, install internet access, set up their computers, install software for their businesses. I also created for a few doctors' offices one of the first electronic medical record keeping system on a tablet PC. This was before the iPad came out. And I used it using a form-based database application. So the failure in the business was I wasn't able to scale it successfully because I was primarily focused in one city that I was in. So it was very difficult for me to get from one client location to another. So I had a very small set of clients. And what I learned is that I should have done three things probably to scale it to become successful. And this is the learning. Number one is I had a good network of friends that I could have onboarded to help me grow the business in different states around the continent, which I didn't do because I was too focused on the work and I wanted to deliver high quality under my control because I am a bit of a control freak person. Steve Jobs was very much like that. I don't want to compare myself to him, but he was definitely is one of my idols in the business world. I've heard stories of him going to his customer service um, telephone centers and actually taking calls with customers to figure out and diagnose issues with their products and services. So I enjoy being very hands-on and controlling things. So that's one thing that I didn't do that I probably should have. The second thing is I didn't do any marketing. So I didn't take the opportunity to market myself online through media, through advertising, and so forth. So that was also a learning which wasn't very successful for my business. And then the third thing is I failed to leverage word of mouth. So even though I did excellent work for these clients of mine where I was located, I didn't take the opportunity to ask them, would you please share your my success story at your business with your business partners, with your network, with your family and friends? I didn't take the opportunity to really push that. And that's why my business, unfortunately, did not scale and grow. So those were the three lessons that I learned.
Fantastic. That was really insightful. So you offer coaching in everything from business, startups to forex trading. So what is the common thread in your coaching philosophy, regardless of the topic? And what is one thing you aim to instill in everyone you mentor?
Yeah. So there are three things that I focus on with my coaching, which is based on a framework that I developed from my experience as a coach and my experience working in different countries and locations. The first thing is that I put in place these pillars, and the pillars really help to establish a certain amount of structure and for your ability to focus on things like education and core values and objectives and having a plan. Then I also have a set of principles that I apply. So, key principles like always take your work seriously, applying yourself, focusing on motivation and minimalism. And then the other component is setting a North Star, let's say, for where you want to go in the future. So I do this, I combine all of these three things together to develop a framework, and it's highly complex. It takes about 1 to 2 hours to train a person on them, and then several days and weeks and months to build their framework for themselves. So that is how I do my coaching across all these different areas. So I use the same framework and same structure based on these three dimensions for my business coaching, my Forex coaching, my career coaching, and so on.
Okay. So, Patrick, looking at the current AI landscape, what is one application or trend you're most excited about that you believe is still flying under the radar for most people?
I would probably say AI agents. So AI agents is quite interesting because it allows you to automate a lot of tasks using AI in your day-to-day work that could help make better use of your time. Not only as an employee at a company, but also for operational activities, supply chain, transport and management, finance, accounting. There's always an opportunity for something that's being done by a human to automate it and make it more efficient. Now everybody's thinking, okay, if we're introducing AI agents, which are kind of like these robots that are highly trained to do our work, what happens to my job? Well, the thing is that I think people have to look more deeply into AI and invest their time in it because it's more of an enabler for your current job to make you more successful. So there was a quote by the CEO of Nvidia. He said something to the effect of AI will not replace your job, but people that know AI very well and use it effectively and efficiently will replace you. And I think that's an excellent statement because it demonstrates the importance of everybody in the technology landscape or even anywhere where technology touches their work to invest their time and educate themselves on how to use AI effectively and efficiently. So I think one thing that's under the radar, to summarize, is AI agents.
Okay, that was insightful. So, for a young professional listening who wants to build an international career in tech, what is the first piece of advice you would give them?
Market themselves as
Mm,
much as possible. I have to say that LinkedIn and job boards have been the most successful source for me to find opportunities globally. Two of the opportunities in my career that I've worked on came because somebody somewhere in some country found my profile, found it interesting, and messaged me and said, would you be interested to come to country ABC and
mm,
work on this job? So I think marketing and branding yourself very effectively on LinkedIn and similar platforms and job boards, including having a really good CV or resume,
mm.
uh, is the best piece of advice I could give anyone that's looking to expand their career internationally.
Great piece of advice, I'd say. Really great advice there. So, Patrick, you are an author, a music producer. and a tech CEO. So, how do you manage your time and focus across such diverse creative and professional pursuits without burning out? And what does your personal operating system look like?
So for me, time is probably one of the most important assets that I have in
Hmm.
my day-to-day work. So I actually have 4 different calendars that I manage that are all integrated. There's my
Wow.
day-to-day work calendar. Yes. There's my personal calendar. There's my Matterhorn Labs calendar. And then there's my hobbies calendar. So I focus on making sure I'm using my time efficiently. So one of my habits, and this came from reading a book called Atomic Habits, which is an excellent book I would recommend your audience reads.
Yeah.
Atomic Habits taught me on the efficient use of time and how it's important to shape the environment around you to keep you motivated to continuously do the things that give you passion in life. So, one of the things that resonates with me the most is if I find myself idling or not doing something for a certain period of time, maybe for a few minutes to an hour or a few hours, I have a certain knack in me to step up and say, okay, it's time to do something. So
Hmm.
that combined with my calendars help me manage my time and say, it's time to work on this, then it's time to work on that. So, yeah.
Great. That's really impressive, managing 4 calendars, and at the same time, being able to actually do the task required of you from all these different fields and the different activities. So, Patrick, if you could go back in time and give your 25-year-old self one piece of career advice, what would it be?
Um, I would say education and reading books. So that's one of the things that later in my career I focused on more. So during my days of university, I mean, I did well in school, but I think if I had invested more time to obtain a master's degree, to obtain an MBA, to read more nonfiction books, that is the one thing from my past that I think I would have desired to better take the opportunity to have done. So that is the piece of advice I would give people. Education and reading books is crucial to building a strong foundation to scale your career on.
Great. So, I like to ask, what does being emotionally intelligent, uh, a trait you list for yourself, look like in the day-to-day reality of leading a tech startup and making tough decisions?
Yeah, so being emotionally intelligent is more on the people management side, I would say, because I work with a diverse set of people from different cultures and backgrounds that have
Mm,
different type of emotional reactions to certain situations they may be faced with. And being emotionally intelligent means you have to have empathy. Empathy, really, bottom line, it means putting yourself in their shoes to understand their viewpoint and where they're coming from before you react emotionally back with them because they may say something that could offend you or make you feel uncomfortable. I've been in multiple situations in my work and my career, even with Matterhorn Labs, working with suppliers and developers and different parties, that something may happen during our journey working together that could make them very uncomfortable emotionally. I mean, at the end of the day, we are human. We have an emotional factor to us. So instead of me immediately reacting back to them and getting emotional myself, the first thing I do is I step back, I try to listen to what they're saying, I allow them the time to vent and frustrate and get frustrated, listen to what they have to say, and then after they're done, I empathize with them by saying, I understand your situation, I'm deeply sorry,
Mm,
much regret that you're feeling this way, to make them understand that I respect their emotions.
yeah.
And then once we get past that phase, then I'm able to really focus on the facts, the data, the actual actions, and the work that needs to be done. And one of the things I noticed through this behavior of being emotionally intelligent is several weeks or months later, they'll usually come back to me and apologize profusely for behaving the way they did. And I don't expect that of them, but it just happens naturally because we are humans after all.
Yeah.
And I thank them for that a lot. And I say, well, I really thank you for that. And just to let you know, I didn't get offended. I fully understand where you're coming from. And I would like to do my best to make sure that our business relationship is successful.
All right. So part of the theme of this podcast is centered around innovation. And for that reason, I like to reserve one question on innovation for every guest that I have a conversation with on this podcast. So, Patrick, in your work, which spans from the deep technology to human coaching and creative expression, so what does the word innovation truly mean to you?
For me, innovation is the concept of coming up with something creative. Human beings were blessed with the ability to be creative creatures. We can sit down and we can think. We can use our brain to come up with ideas. We can look around us and try to solve problems. So, being innovative is really triggered by the fact that we have the ability to really sit down and focus on something and try to come up with a new way of doing it
Mm,
or a better way of doing it. I mean, that's what innovation is about. Take a look at the iPhone. When that came out, incredibly innovative product. And that was actually a tipping point for me to switch from being a Windows PC user to now an Apple user. It was all
mm,
because of the iPhone, and it was such a powerful statement in my life that I haven't forgotten to this day. And this is why I mentioned Steve Jobs' name earlier. So to me, that's what innovation is about. It's really uh, honing in on our creative and intuitive and critical thinking ability as human beings to come up with new and better way to do things. So, yes.
awesome, awesome. So finally, for our listeners who are inspired by your journey and want to learn more from your writings, your coachings, or perhaps follow your work, what is the best first step for them to take?
First step is just simply go to my website at patrickreyes.com. Everything is there from my social media links, my blog posts, articles, information about my business, and cross links to all of the other activities that I'm doing professionally.
Awesome, fantastic. So, Patrick, it's been a really insightful, really interesting conversation with you on the show today, and I am totally excited to have you here.
Thank you, Ezekiel. It's been a great pleasure. I really appreciate you taking the time to interview me, and I hope your audience will find something insightful that will help them in their life, in their career. So thank you again, Ezekiel.
Yeah, I'm sure the audience will definitely find some values from this conversation, like I myself has gotten. So, yeah, it was nice having you on the show, sir.